How are we? How are we? How are we? Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another for another deadline stream. I hope you're doing well. It is game week 15, the week before the AFCON transfers, the week after the midweek deadline. I hope you are all doing well. I very much hope it all looks and sounds all right. Someone could just let me know in the comments, but good to see so many of you in already this morning. Of course, we'll be live in the 2 hours up until the deadline. As a reminder, as a note, once the deadline hits, we won't be waiting for team news. I have to head off very quickly, but let's get into it. We've got all the time in the world for the next couple of hours, and yeah, let's say hello to you. Let's do the usual rounds of hello. So if you're in the chat, say hello and we will do all of that and we will get into the stream. So hello to FPL Vert, hello to FPL Cowboy, hello to Brian, hello to Aviation, hello to Ian, hello to Zuni, hello to Jeff, and who else have we got in? Hello to Nosensi, Sam, and yeah, all the other members and moderators, thank you all very much for your support. I hope you have had a good week. It's been a busy one. It definitely has. But to everyone else, Boston Mike, hello to Saksha, Cal, Andy, Daniel, Tony, Calvin, MW, Neil, Chad, Flynn, Yasin, D11, Lewis, George, Oliver, Goldstones, Alex, Hassan, who else have we got in? Wolverine, Lee, Fiona, Objective, Renko, Asim, and Tom. Hello, and to everyone else, I hope you are doing well. I hope you've had at least one green arrow in the past couple of game weeks. It's a lot. A week ago, we were sat here, and we had our game week 12 ranks, right? And now we're about to get into game week 15. Things have changed very quickly in the landscape of FPL. Foden rose in price again. That is 3 price rises in the space of 4 days. He rose on Tuesday, he rose on Thursday, and he rose on Friday. I am quite glad I went early on that transfer now, just for the sake of, I could sell Foden for 0.1 million more than I bought him for. Someone's saying he'd been up 0.4 in 5 days, so he must have risen after the free hit earlier on in the week, which is, crazy. The amount of transfers in, I think he's had over 1 million now. I think he's the most transferred in player we've had in a game week for quite a period of time, excluding like wildcards and free hits and stuff like that. 1.3 million transfers in for him. Thiago, 500,000. Bruno Guimaraes, 400,000. Voltemada, 400,000. Munoz, 280,000. So it's a busy week. And this is part of the reason when I was speaking a couple of weeks ago, and a game week 16 free hit is absolutely fine, right? There are definitely benefits to it. But there's going to be even more. You think the price changes were busy this week. Imagine what it's like when the whole game gets given 5 free transfers next week, right? There is going to be this on a whole nother level. A whole nother level next week. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Like Foden, if anyone gets a return, that's also going to be popular, right? If Foden scores again, if Thiago scores, if Daniel Munoz does well, if any of the players who are already on a bit of a bandwagon do well this weekend, they're going to rise, a couple of times next week, which again is why I'm quite glad that I'm not on a free hit next week. Although the free hit squads do look good. If you are on free hit this week and you want to see what a team would look like, there is one in the complete guide video from yesterday. We're not going to go through one necessarily just during this stream. If you want to have free hit or wildcard drafts, they are in the complete guide video from yesterday, so I would point you in that direction. Cool. Before we dive in, if you could drop a like on the stream, that would be fantastic. Also, if you are new to the channel, if you could subscribe as well. Yeah, sorry, just one thing. Apparently someone says the echo is a little bit worse. I'm not at home this morning, so all will be back to normal from next weekend. No triple captain on Haaland. It's still West Ham at home for me is the plan in game week 17. So I'm going to wait a couple of weeks and play it in game week 17. So yeah, that's the plan. I don't hate it this week, but just with the Real Madrid fixture closely after, Sunderland are a pretty good team as well. So yeah. I don't think I need to, someone's saying it, yeah, it is stuck in the top right. Yeah, it is. Let me refresh it. Always nice when the tech doesn't work. There we go. For you. Should start working now. Yeah, so I don't love the triple captaincy this week. I think West Ham at home definitely looks better, but we didn't think Fulham away was a great week for Haaland, and look what he ended up doing. Is Saka worth the money? I'm still a little bit uncertain of it. When I didn't buy him, and then he got the 12 points a few weeks ago, I didn't buy him because I didn't think he was worth the money. And now we're sat here a couple of weeks later. He hasn't done loads for the price that he's at, but he's also ticking along nicely. And part of the benefit for Saka is you kind of pay the price for the minutes, and you pay the price that he's going to start most games. When he's fit and available, that's fine. But he didn't start in game week 15. So you're not really paying the price for the money anymore. Now, the difficult thing is once he's just had a benching, the chances of it happening again soon feels quite low. So yeah, I mean, listen, if there's a couple of weeks down the line where I need the money for something else, that's fine. He's got Wolves at home next week though, and I want triple Arsenal for that fixture. I want as much investment in teams playing against particularly Wolves, but also Burnley. I don't have anyone against Burnley this week. I don't have any Newcastle. I used my transfer on Foden. I could have bought maybe a Voltamada or a Bruno Guimaraes, but I like what Foden offered long term, and I have to think about squad value a little bit as well. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily sure Saka is worth the money, but I'm going to be keeping him for now. When is the best week to free hit? It is a little bit team dependent. I actually don't think this is the worst week, depending on what your team looks like. Of course, I don't think my team needs it, but some teams might. If you want to go in 16, then it's not the end of the world. Like, there will be price changes, but it does look quite good in 16. If not, game week 18, or just wait for there to be a week that it looks particularly good for your team. But yeah, game week 19, probably. If you haven't used it already, and if you don't want to use it, if there's no obvious week for you to do it. You have an issue. You have Caicedo and Semenyo. I was gonna do what you did to get Foden in for Semenyo. Then you only have 5.4 replace Caicedo. Who do we think Reinders? If you've got 5.4, I'd buy Anderson. I think you've got exact money for Semenyo to Foden and Caicedo to Anderson. Those would be the two moves that I'd probably look at. Mateta, Semenyo to Thiago, Foden for a -4. I think this has been the most popular -4 to ask this week. Mateta to Thiago, Semenyo to Foden for a hit. I don't think I'd do Semenyo to Foden for a hit. So do Mateta to Thiago with your 1 free transfer, but I think I'd wait on Semenyo to Foden and do that next week. Not sure it's worth a hit, no. You could also do Semenyo to Minter for free. I think the long-term goal is still Foden. I mean, there is a bit of a bandwagon here for him, but if you look at their fixtures from even like from 16 onwards, even games like West Ham at home, Forest away, Sunderland away, Chelsea at home, Brighton, Man United, Wolves, like it stretches all the way up until the end of January. Good fixtures for Phil Foden, so I'm quite happy that I've got on him early. Of course, I wish I'd bought him before he did all the goals and all the points, because it might have given me a green arrow last week, but yeah, it didn't. To get Foden in for Semenyo, you need to sell Van Dijk. You've got the 2 free transfers. You've got, how much have you got? Best replacement under 5.2. Probably a Palace one. If you do not want a Palace one, maybe Malik Chaël. If not, down to 4.5 in the likes of Anderson or Van Heck. But if you don't have a Palace defender or you've got a space for a second one in either Marc Guéhi or Lacroix, yeah. We have 5 transfers next week. Why? Yeah, so for anyone who's still unaware, going into game week 16, we'll be given 5 free transfers. So as soon as the game updates after game week 15, we should have 5 free transfers for everyone. So as a result, you all need to use your transfers this week. I mean, you don't have to use them. I keep needing to add that caveat as some people say that their team doesn't need them. But I would be using all of your transfers this week. I don't think there is a team out there that is good enough to not use a transfer unless you may be wildcarded in game week 14. So yeah, we get them for players going to the African Cup of Nations. In hindsight, we don't really need them because I don't have anyone left in my team going to AFCON. So I'm going to be using my transfers on other players. But yeah, that's why it is. Bench 1, Konate, O'Reilly, Timber, Richards, and Ndai. Probably Richards there. O'Reilly's a really difficult one because I do think there's a chance that O'Reilly doesn't start. I think there's a risk of a couple of those City players, and I think Foden is one of them. I think there's a bit of a risk that there is some changes to that City team with Real Madrid midweek. Them losing to Bayern Leverkusen on last round is actually quite bad for them because if they then lose to Real Madrid, they do have a little bit of work to do in the Champions League. Now, they might still just look at this and think the Premier League is most important because they'll still qualify out of the Champions League even if they don't win. But last year, if you remember, City didn't make the top 8 and they got Real Madrid in the round 32 and they got knocked out. And I don't think they'll want to run that risk again, really. So they will want to win this game against Real Madrid. But they also know that if they're going to have any chance of winning the league, they can't slip up at all. And this is not an easy game. So I think they'll be pretty full strength. I do think there's a risk of some of the City players not starting. Like, I don't think it will be completely full strength, right? I don't think it will be the exact team that played Fulham. I think there'll be something different in it. Now, where that is, I don't know. Is that a change in centre-back? Is that Ake coming in? Is that a Nori? Because, like, if we're looking at Sunderland as a physical team, it doesn't just mean that O'Reilly drops out and Nori comes back in. It could be O'Reilly drops out and Nathan Ake comes in to add a bit of physicality back into that City team. Although O'Reilly's still pretty good at that stuff. So if you've got O'Reilly, I would probably start him, but it would probably put me off buying him this week if you haven't already. Will I still do Foden in for Semenyo even after the price rises? Now that we're here, if I hadn't gone early, part of the benefit to going early was to gain some of those price changes. So Semenyo's fallen and Foden's risen twice. So I've effectively gained at least 0.3 on that. Technically 0.2 if you look at Foden's selling price compared to what I bought him for. But yeah, I'm still pretty happy with it. Would I do it now that I've missed out on it all? If it's the only move you've got, then potentially. The other one is Mateta to Thiago. Someone asked in the chat already about Brentford players from next week. Yeah, Brentford is top priority. I'm almost guaranteeing that I will buy Thiago next week. I'm almost guaranteeing I'll buy Thiago next week. Whether it's for Mateta or whether it's a couple of transfers, I haven't fully decided, but I can't do Enzo to him anymore. Enzo's 6.7. And I think Thiago might also be 6.7. I think they're both 6.7. Oh no, Thiago's gone up to 6.8. I literally, as soon as I saw Enzo's price, I knew what was coming. Triple captain out of Marino, Munoz, and Haaland. If I had to pick one, it would still be Haaland this week. Sorry, yeah. So Thiago's up to 6.8. So And also the cheapest midfielder is more expensive than Mark Guiu, so I can't do it as a straight swap. Like I can't do Enzo to the cheapest one and Mark Guiu to Thiago. I don't have the money for that. Yeah, I don't have the money for it, unfortunately. So if I was going to do it for Enzo, I think I'd have to sell Van Dijk. I think he's the obvious one that would go to get the money. But the issue is in that spot, I really want Munoz, and he's even more expensive. Yeah, contemplating life changes when you're forced, basically, to say, yeah. Triple captain, we've done. Any news on Rice? No, nothing on Rice. We probably expect him to be okay, is probably what we're expecting. Saliba, if I had to predict, I think Rice and Saliba probably both start, but I wouldn't guarantee that. I think Saliba is less likely. I'm not considering Haaland captain. Haaland is definitely my captain this week. I'm not considering him triple captain, no. I'm waiting until game week 17 when he's got West Ham at home to play my final chip. I'd be interested to know in the chat, how many chips do you have left available? Just one for me now with the triple captain. Some of you will have none. Some of you might have 2 or 3. Bench 1, O'Reilly, Van Dijk, Mark Gay, probably Van Dijk with the way that they're playing. Or O'Reilly if you're not certain he starts. 1 free hit, triple captain, no chips. Bench boost, you just got bench boost. Yeah, a few of you with the bench boost. I would look at game week 16, 17 and 18. All of those weeks, a different combination of the Leeds, Sunderland and Burnley have good fixtures in either 16, 17 or 18. So one of those weeks will probably work well for you. I wouldn't save it for 19. But yeah, bench boost, I would probably play in one of those 3 weeks. If you're going to triple captain in 17, if you've still got that, I think 18 looks best. I think Burnley have Everton at home and Leeds play against Sunderland. So I think 18 is probably the best week for you. Free hit, if you're looking to play free hit, 16, if you want to play it, I think is probably the best remaining week. But if your team looks fine in 16, wait for potentially 19 or just... I don't think this is the worst week for it, actually. Because... I mean, it's probably a bit late to play it, but you get to pile into Brighton, who've then got a difficult fixture next week. You get to pile into Newcastle, who don't have the best fixture next week. You get to pile into City again for another fixture. You potentially get some Liverpool. I think there is some good and you could take out Semenyo, but potentially look to keep him and for further down the line. So I actually don't think this is the worst week for it. I know Oscar's on it, FPL Focal, and his team looks very, very good. Yeah. His team looks great. So I'm not jealous of him at all. Thoughts on Cole Palmer now he's fit again? I need to see performances from him, right? Because we all picked him at the start of the season and it didn't go that well for us. I mean, I know he got injured, but also at the end of last season, it didn't work out particularly well in terms of owning him. He's a lot of money, and it's straight shootout between Saka and Foden, Saka and Palmer in a lot of our teams. And I wonder if neither of them are worth the money, right? You've got Bruno at $1 million cheaper, who was disappointing, but still got 4 points, was close to Saka and outscored Palmer, and Foden doing what he's doing. So I'm not sure either of them are necessarily worth the money at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. If I've done a free transfer, if I then put a free hit, is it still okay? Yeah, you don't get to keep that transfer. So that transfer that you made, like let's say you do Mateta to Thiago and then you free hit, in game week 16, you'll have Mateta back in your team. So that's the issue. If you've gone like Semenyo to Foden and now you free hit, you're losing all the value on Foden because next week you'll have Semenyo back in your team and you'll have to buy Foden at 8.4 now. But yeah, if Thiago is predicted to rise in price on Saturday, and let's say he doesn't get injured, Spurs is the late kickoff, isn't it? I think. Spurs Brentford, the late kickoff. Oh no, Leeds Liverpool's the late kickoff. Spurs Brentford's at 3. So if Thiago is predicted to rise in price, let's say he is tonight, which he isn't at the moment, so we might be all right. But if he is, then I may well just do Mateta to Thiago tonight. The aim would be to wait until at least Mateta plays, because if Mateta banks in a hat-trick, I might try and force in Thiago elsewhere in for Enzo. But Enzo has Everton at home next week. So yeah, future transfer plans. Someone was asking in the chat. So probably looking to do Mateta to Thiago next week. It's probably my only planned transfer next week. I'll probably only use one. I might look at... I will put a bit of money in the bank, but the other players I'm looking at potentially are Minter, difficult fixture, Munoz, difficult fixture. So it might be just one transfer for me next week. Then in 17 after that, it might be buying Daniel Munoz if he hasn't picked up a yellow card. And it might be replacing Enzo. Amelia, I don't think it is. The app is working fine for me, just refreshing it. And the website is also absolutely fine for me at the moment. So I would refresh everything. Would I still buy Foden if he'd gone up all of this in price? Probably. It wouldn't put me off, right? Because he might rise again. Like, if he scores today, like let's say he scores today, he'll be 8.5 again. Like, he's already at 10% of the transfers for another price rise. If he scores again today, he'll be 8.5 by the end of the weekend and probably 8.6 by next game week. So would I buy him for a hit though? No. Like, I'd probably wait. If you haven't done it for a hit, I'd probably wait and do it for free with your 5 free transfers next week. Now, yeah. Would I rather play Tarkowski or Anderson from Fulham? I prefer Tarkowski over Anderson this week. I don't know. I feel like Anderson first bench. Whenever I bench him, he always does really well. And he luckily came off my bench last time. He did really well, but I don't imagine that will be the case this weekend. I have actually wondered about benching Enzo. This week and playing a back four. Still just am not in the mindset of playing that back four. I'm just still not there yet. Bench one of Anderson, Richards and Dewsbury Hall. Probably Anderson. I'd play Dewsbury Hall, I think. Chalobah, Mateta, Rice, Dewsbury Hall, Welbeck. Bench two. Chalobah definitely. Potentially, I'd definitely play Welbeck. Mateta, Rice, Dewsbury Hall. If I had to bench one of them, I'd probably bench Dewsbury Hall, I think. Van Heck, yeah, I mean, got 2 goals last week in my top players to buy this week in my defenders. And I promise I put that defenders to buy graphic out before I made it before he scored twice. I promise. But yeah, I like him at a cheap price of 4.4. Their fixtures rotate quite well with a couple of others, but you need to be able to bench him in a couple of the weeks. I think Declan Rice will start, but I don't know. I'm merely guessing on that. Yeah, just guessing on that. If you haven't already, please drop a subscribe on the channel. I hope you are doing well. Nice start to a Saturday morning. Always nice morning stream. Game week 16 is going to be chaos. I'm wondering quite how many videos I'm going to make next week. There'll be the usual one on Sunday, but normally I'd wait until probably Wednesday to make a second one, and I'm almost certain that I'll need to make one before that for you all. Yeah, you own Van Dijk, Munoz, Richards, Anderson, who to bench. I mean, Anderson probably. Enzo, Mateta to Welbeck, Doku, or Eze, Semenyo to Foden. I don't mind Doku, but I still think finding a route to Foden is better. Would I do Virgil van Dijk to Timber and Enzo to Bruno Guimaraes next week? Yeah, the issue with that is you're buying Bruno Guimaraes after he's played Burnley, which is doesn't feel great. Like, I think there'll be another midfielder who looks good next week that we could potentially look to buy instead of him. But yeah. You don't want to... Sorry. Anderson, Senesi, or Reece. I think they're all in my benching ranking. I would play Anderson out of them. Reece is probably last, but it's close between him and Senesi. But Senesi's DEFCON, I'd play Anderson anyway. We'll get the AFCON transfers after game week 15 or after game week 16. After game week 15, so in what's the time? An hour and a half. In two and a half hours or 2 hours when the game updates. That's when you have your free transfers. Would I sell Mateta to Voltemada? If you've got nothing else to do this week, then yes. But yeah, I think that's probably the case. I don't love Voltemada as a long-term option, but I don't mind him this week. Part of me would be more inclined to buy Welbeck this week, because I still think I prefer him long-term, despite the difficult fixture next week. Yeah. Oh, it's hot in here. Does Palmer start today? Probably. Is that radiator on? No, it's not. Oh. Yeah, I quite like Welbeck. He's also cheaper than Voltemada. He's also slightly cheaper. Yeah. João Pedro or Kudus? If I had to start one this week, probably João Pedro. But yeah, I think Enzo will start and play 90, and I'm not sure Mateta will. No. FPL Verts. Is Gordon starting? I think the prediction probably is that he will, but it's not guaranteed with the way that some of the others are playing. It will depend a little bit on who he wants midweek, but yeah, I think Gordon probably will. If I had a similar team to me, would I bench boost or free hit? I wouldn't free hit my team, so I'd probably then bench boost. I'm not sure I'd even bench boost this team though. I'd probably look to save both of those transfers. Do I want Semenyo? I don't mind Semenyo. I still think he's a fine pick. He was just my only route to buy Foden, who was rising in price very quickly. That was my only route to buy Foden. If I'd have had money to do Enzo to Foden, I definitely would have done it. I'd rather sell Enzo than Semenyo this week, but I was the only way for me to get to him. Is a free hit good to go against Arsenal? I mean, if you're on free hit, I probably wouldn't have any Arsenal. The free hit draft that I built had none of them in it. So if you're going to free hit, like, I wouldn't go Raya. There are probably better defenders, and I probably wouldn't spend the money on Saka. It doesn't mean they're bad picks this week, but if I was on free hit, I probably would go against him. Red Head, let me take a look. You need a Keane replacement. Mukiele Senesi on the bench doesn't seem good. Would I take a hit for Tarkowski, O'Reilly, Gavardio, Malik Chaël? Also another hit for Foden, maybe just Foden and Senesi. I wouldn't be taking too many hits. Like, I'd rather play Senesi than take a hit for a defender this week. And Foden, maybe, depending on who you're selling. But I wouldn't take a hit for a defender when you're going to get 5 free transfers next week. I just wait. Keane also doesn't sound like he's too far away from a return. He could be back potentially next week. Like, there's a chance he plays this weekend. I don't think he will, but he's still not ruled out of this week. So I don't think I'd be taking a hit to sell him. I probably would just play Senesi and then deal with it next week if you need to. Senesi is probably also the one I'd look to sell next week. Anyway, I probably prefer Keane with some of the upcoming Everton fixtures. What's my opinion on Semenyo or Enzo to Bruno Guimaraes or Mateta to Voltemada? You own Thiago and don't want Foden. If I had to make one of those this week, Mateta to Voltemada, I probably prefer. And keeping Enzo and Semenyo, I probably prefer the Voltemada move, but Bruno Guimaraes does look pretty good. What would make me do Matata to Thiago tonight? To be honest, any price rise. I'm pretty set on it as a transfer. Yeah, if Thiago was going to rise, then I probably would do it tonight. Because Thiago also plays today and then doesn't play again until next week. He's got no midweek because it's Europe. So yeah, I probably would look to go early on it if he's going to rise. He doesn't look like he's going to rise tonight though. Hopefully we can get to tomorrow at least and see Mateta play. Does Saliba start? Probably, but there's no guarantee of it, but probably. Yeah, Donnarumma sitting on 4 yellow cards, 1 away from a nice Christmas holiday. He's one of a few players. It always happens at this time of year. Yeah, I've just got my triple captain left, which I plan on playing in game week 17. Haaland at home to West Ham is the plan. Who's more important to have this week only, Bruno or Foden? If I could only buy one this week, would I buy Bruno or Foden? Probably Foden. Bruno's a really nice long-term pick, but I don't think there's a specific week that you're like, I need to have him. But it's more over the course of 10 weeks, he'll probably outscore most of the other midfielders in the game. But in any specific week, there will probably be other midfielders that outscore him. I need to get a new Christmas jumper, actually. Yeah. Best goalkeeper for free hits. I actually had Ramsdale in it because I think there will be a bit of rotation in the Newcastle defence. So I just went with Ramsdale, probably slightly safer. Where else could you go? I mean, you could end up with Raya. You could end up with Donnarumma. You could end up with Lamans. I don't think that's the worst one. Although United do concede goals, they are playing Wolves. Yeah. Pickford, you could also look out on free hit. Why no Rice in my team? I just never got round to buying him. I've had triple Arsenal elsewhere. I've always focused on buying Saka. I don't mind Rice. I think he'll play today. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on any Arsenal team news. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on any Arsenal team news. What have I got in? Oh my. Ooh. There we go. You can't get Foden for free for Semenyo and Die or Caicedo. You only have one free. Do Mateta to Thiago this week or another mid I like? I probably would just do the Mateta move and look to get him next week. Luxury transfer Mateta to Voltemada or Welbeck? Mateta to Voltemada or Welbeck? I prefer Welbeck, I think. I think long term I prefer Welbeck. Short term I prefer Voltemada. So it depends how many of your 5 free transfers you want to use next week. Because if you've got nothing else to do next week, then maybe just go Voltemada for this one. But I think I'd buy Welbeck. I think I'd probably go Welbeck now over him. I think... Van de Ven or Porro. I mean, I wouldn't be buying a Spurs defender regardless, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think Spurs defender is a good buy at all. Even with the fixture on paper looks all right this week, but you are playing against Thiago, who's scored a lot of goals recently. So neither, probably. Enzo to Bruno Guimaraes or Richards to Chaël or Hall. I wouldn't sell Richards to Chaël, so Enzo to Bruno Guimaraes probably. For game week 16, either Munoz or Van Dijk to Timber, or Richards and Enzo to Timber and Dewsbury Hall. Currently own cheap assets, Anderson or Gay, current defender above Chaël and Alderete. So how would I either... I wouldn't sell Munoz. Van Dijk to Timber I don't mind, but if you've already got Munoz, you could do the Enzo move. But if you're going Dewsbury Hall and you've got Guiu, yeah, I wouldn't do that either. Yeah, I wouldn't want... I mean, Dewsbury Hall is pretty similar to Anderson, to be fair, so you could do that, but I don't mind. Anderson's floor just seems better, even when he doesn't get DEFCON last week. No DEFCON against Wolves. That seems to be the play. Bruno won't get DEFCON on Monday night, basically, is the scenario that we're looking at. Maybe I should have looked at that before I bought Anderson against Wolves, but yeah, he's fine long term. Enzo or Dewsbury Hall. This week, still Enzo over them, but there's a lot of money between them. I would start Enzo, though. Minter, yeah, a couple of people asking in the chat. I really like Minter. If I had an extra transfer this week, I mean, I probably would do Mateta to Thiago, but Enzo to Minter for West Ham at home is something that I definitely would look at. Yeah. Do I think Haaland plays 90? If they're not winning the game, yeah, probably. If they have won it comfortably, then maybe not. But in that case, he's probably involved. So yeah, probably does play 90 because I don't expect them to win it comfortably. Would I bring in Foden for Mbeumo? Now, I probably wouldn't. Mbeumo dropped in price last night. Foden rose in price. I maybe would have done it if I was going to gain some value on it, but now we're here. Unless you've got nothing else to do, then you could consider it. But I look at the next two fixtures for Man United, and they are better than the next two fixtures for Man City. So I'm not sure I would do Mbeumo to Foden. Why don't I appreciate Welbeck? I quite like Welbeck. I think I've mentioned Welbeck a few times during this stream. Outside of Thiago, he's probably the next best forward that I would look to buy this week. Yeah, chip strategy recommendations. So it is a little bit team dependent. If you've, bench boost. If you've got all your chips left, as 0008 has with the super chat, where would I look to play them? I'd probably free hit 16. Triple captain 17, bench boost 18, wildcard 19, I think. Because I think those are probably the best weeks left for those chips individually. Free hit 16, triple captain 17, bench boost 18, free hit wildcard 19 is probably the order I would do it. And so if you've got any of those chips left, those are probably the best weeks that you'd look to play them. Do I think Rice is going to start? Probably, yeah. I just can't. It feels like too big a game for them. Suddenly out of nowhere, this is suddenly a really big game, which I don't think we even realised maybe even a week ago how Aston Villa have massively charged up the table. So it's a big game for them now. So I expect Rice and Saliba probably both to play, but I'm just basing that off the fact that it's a big game, and if they're anywhere near, they'll probably play. Thank you all for watching. We're almost 45 minutes into the stream, and 3,000 of you watching haven't dropped a like. So if you could, that would be fantastic. Also, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. There is a lot of content over the next month for you, all the way into January and into the end of the season. But particularly over the next month, we have a lot of deadlines with a lot of videos, and with 5 free transfers, a lot of transfers to make. So if you haven't already, please do drop a like, and yeah, hopefully we can hit 1,000 at some point in this stream. You need to replace Semenyo. You've got 7.7. If you can't go to Foden, there's no one I'd sell Semenyo for. I think he's absolutely fine. And then you get Burnley at home in a few weeks. So yeah, I probably would look to do something else. Yeah. Would I take De Kuiper or Kadioglu against West Ham? I'm not sure. I mean, I'd rather Van Heck, I think, because he's just at least safer long term. I know they're 4-3. I feel like Dequopa's slightly safer, though. Bench Anderson or Chalobah. If that's Anderson, I'd play Anderson, yeah. Will I meet Ross and Oscar over Christmas for another walk? Probably not over Christmas, but I'm sure we'll find a date to do it again at some point. Van der Ven to Malak Chow or Mateta or Pedro or Waltemada. Mateta, I don't mind, to Waltemada or to Welbeck. I'd probably rather that than a defensive move, I think. I don't think Mateta's that bad this week, but yeah, I'm just not sure. He's just missing. The difficult thing with Mateta, and this is the difference between the data versus the eye test, right? Mateta is getting as many big chances as basically anyone in the league at the moment. Like, he's top for big chances outside of Haaland in the league. But when you watch him, he's missing so many of them. So when you look at the underlying data, he is like right up there for big chances. His XG is really high, but then he's missing them. So that's where you've got to make a decision of, is he going to continue missing them, in which case he's not worth it, or is he going to start scoring, in which case the XG is there and he's going to get loads of chances. I think the trend has been going on long enough, though, and the minutes is the other thing for him. Would I start Van Heck or Richards? Van Heck at home to West Ham, definitely. Thiago or Enzo? Thiago. Bench one of Anderson of Forest, Minter, O'Reilly, and Timber. Probably Anderson, maybe Timber. Maybe Timber. I have wondered about benching Timber myself. I have. Like, I could play Anderson over Timber. If we, for some reason, heard that Saliba was not going to start, which would mean Timber would likely play centre-back, and it makes them worse defensively away at Aston Villa, I would take a gamble. I would consider taking a gamble on benching Timber. Like, if he's going to play centre-back and Saliba's not going to play, I don't think he's the best pick this week away at Villa. And Anderson gets DEFCON, right? Whereas Timber doesn't get DEFCON. Who to bring in first this week? Balak Chow or Timber and the other next week? Well, Chow is Burnley at home, and I've just said that I don't love Timber this week. So, yeah, if you're going to buy one, it's definitely Chow. Or to switch Mbermo to Foden. Ooh. YouTube just crashed. There we go. Switch Mbermo to Foden and play Senesi, Anderson and Munoz. I'd rather do... I'm not sure I'd sell Mbermo. I think I'm not going to... Yeah, I wouldn't sell Mbermo. Do I think Marino or Gyökeres starts? Probably Marino again. It's difficult for him to take him out with the way he's playing. I wouldn't be buying Marino. And if I was on a free hit, I still don't think I'd own them. But, yeah, probably Marino. Interested to know what Arsenal fans in the chat think. Best Gyökeres, Semenyo, Pope replacements. Gyökeres, Semenyo, Pope replacements. Gyökeres is Thiago or Welbeck. Semenyo is Foden then if you're selling Gyökeres. And Bruno or down to someone like a Minter. And Pope is Raya or Verbruggen. Probably that's the short list of players that I'd be looking to buy at the moment. Any plans to bring Foden in? I brought him in for Semenyo. That was my transfer this week. Couple of price changes already taken, which is quite nice as a starting point. Let's hope he at least starts today. Why are you not benching Anderson and playing a 4-4-2? I quite like Anderson. He's just as good for DEFCON as some of those defenders are. And he has more attacking threat. So I suppose I could bench Anderson and play a back four, but yeah. I know what you mean though, because There's not that much attacking threat from him there. And Anderson probably has similar DEFCON potential. Probably has similar attacking threat. Well, no, maybe not. But he also has the potential of a bigger clean sheet haul, right? I just think Crystal Palace score, though. Yeah, Watkins got loads of chances. I remember, and he missed them all, didn't he? And Raya did that huge save. Raya did that huge save on the line, which how Watkins didn't put it in, I don't know. Last one, Semenyo, Enzo to Foden for a hit. Probably wouldn't, but if you could do Enzo to Foden for a hit, I'd be more inclined to. I don't think I'd do Semenyo to Foden for a hit, no. Don't think I would. Yeah, I mean, Foden could get rested, as Devon has just said in the chat. Like, it's possible. We could get the City lineup and there's no Foden in it, which would be a bit of chaos. A bit of chaos. Why not buy Wilson over Minter? Because his minutes are just still all up. He's played a lot of minutes this season, but his minutes are still not safe enough for me to buy Wilson at Fulham. I know he's cheaper, but he always drops in and out of the team, and we've seen it a lot historically at Fulham, that he's never been nailed enough for us to buy, and his minutes are still not... He's fine if you need a cheap one, but you're going to be running a risk most weeks with him, I think. Virgil van Dijk to Timber next week. You own Raya and Munoz. Virgil van Dijk to Timber. You own Raya and Munoz. Yeah, I don't mind. If your way to a good defender like a Munoz or a Timber is selling Van Dijk, I have no issue with it, really. Liverpool just been disappointing. Would I play O'Reilly? If I own him, probably. I think it comes with a bit of a risk, but I probably would, yeah. I probably would. I think Arsenal... I don't love the fixture for them this week. That's why I would play someone like a Van Dijk over a Timber. And I'm even considering benching Timber myself, just because I think it's going to be difficult for them away at Villa today. Early kickoff as well. Never like to back that, do we? Ekatike on a free hit? No. I think predicting the Liverpool lineup is difficult enough. I don't think I'd be doing that. And you saw like Gakpo started the last one and then got taken off at half time, right? I think predicting the Liverpool lineup at the moment is pretty difficult. You're hoping for some Foden leaks before bringing him in for Semenyo. Is it possible? I would say almost certainly not. We haven't had City leaks even when they're the early kickoff. And they're not the early kickoff. So I think we do pretty well. I don't think Luke did a predicted lineup, did he? No, he didn't. So, I mean, if you're going on Foden, you've just got to take the gamble if you want it. If you don't want to take the gamble, that's fine. He's not guaranteed to start, so I understand why people might not want to do it this week. Saka to Foden? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that when you know you've got one player who's going to start and is a good long-term pick. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. Thoughts on Gordon? I think he'll probably start, but he's still a big risk going forward. So I'd much rather buy Bruno Guimaraes if I'm looking at Newcastle. Would I transfer in Bruno Guimaraes or Minter? Who and why? I think I'd go Minter. He's just slightly cheaper, so that money might be useful to you. It will also depend whether you can bench him in a couple of the upcoming weeks, because they've got Liverpool away, Arsenal away, and City away, I think all in the next 8. And Bruno Guimaraes probably has better short-term fixtures, but I just prefer Minter as an asset in general. I don't mind Bruno Guimaraes, but he's probably better if you want to play him every week. But I like Minter, I'd say more, yeah. O'Reilly not in the benching ranking. Is he not? I had to do a cut-down list. The thing with him is I'm not certain he starts, but I think he probably will. If you've got him, I would start him. I don't think I'd be buying O'Reilly this week, though. Not sure I'd be taking that as my transfer. Not sure I'd be using that as my 1-free. Start one of Thiago, Anderson, or Van de Ven. Definitely Thiago. I think Spurs defensively at home, Spurs defensively full stop, have not been good enough, and Thiago's been good. He got a bit of a rest midweek, so yeah. Start two, Richards, Timber, or O'Reilly. If I had to start two, Richards, Timber, and O'Reilly. Probably bench Richards. I play Timber, and I'd take the chance on O'Reilly starting. If you're uncertain on Richards or on O'Reilly, benching O'Reilly for Richards is not the worst decision, particularly if you've got no other Palace, because the ownership of Palace defence is very high now. But I think I'd take the chance on benching Richards and playing O'Reilly, I think. Why Anderson over Enzo? I just think without Caicedo there, Enzo has to do even more defensive work, because we can't rely on one player to do all the defensive work at Chelsea when there's no Caicedo. Whereas Caicedo can do it on his own, right? Whereas when there's not there, he can't. That player can't do it on his own. So Enzo has to do more defensive work, and yeah, that's why I'm not that high on Enzo this week. I could bench him for Anderson. But I think I'm going to play him. Replace Semenyo, 7.7 mil only. Raya Timber, do I play? Missed you earlier. Reply. I would keep Semenyo. Unless you want to sell Semenyo to Foden, I would keep Semenyo this week. I would keep him. Who's my top three replacements for Enzo in order? Probably Minter, probably Bruno Guimaraes, and I don't know the third one. If I've got money, then up to someone like a Foden, a Bruno, probably. But Minter and Bruno Guimaraes at the moment are the two that I look at that I'm most looking at buying. When I sell Anderson to Minter, I can't believe that it's the best use of your transfer. I prefer Minter to Anderson. If I'd have had the money last week, I would have bought Minter over Anderson. I definitely would have done. But just think for this week, I just think for my team it makes sense, and I wouldn't sell Anderson to Minter. I think there's probably better uses of your transfer. Cool. 1 second. Would I free hit my team? No. I'd rather free hit 16 with my team, but yeah, I wouldn't free hit, no. I don't think so. Would I still do the Foden trade after the rises? Probably. If you've still got the money for it, it's probably still my favourite transfer that I could have made this week. I would consider Mateta to Thiago more, but because the issue is Foden next week away at Palace, you don't need that. Like, he's fine away at Palace, but he's definitely not needed. So if you've not got it, you might look at a transfer that benefits your team more over the next couple of weeks, which might be something like, Mateta to Thiago might benefit your team more over the next 2, whereas Foden goes away to Palace next week. Why not Doku? I think Doku's fine. He feels slightly less nailed than Foden does, and his goal output is definitely worse. And as much as I like players who pick up assists, I do want players who are going to score goals. Goals are so much more valuable in FPL than assists are. And Doku is good, but he is very focused on getting assists. Yeah, so I don't mind Doku, but his output in FPL has never been good enough to really own him. Doku feels like owning a player because you want a City player and you can't afford Foden, whereas there are other players at his price. Like, I don't think Doku is better pick than Bruno Guimaraes or Minter. I mean, I know Minter is also very much assist threat, but he's so focal to what they do and his output is better. Like, I don't think Doku feels like buying him because you want a City player rather than because he's actually the best option for you. Is it correct to use your triple captain on Haaland or Mateta this game week? I wouldn't be putting the captaincy or the vice captaincy anywhere near Mateta, let alone considering a triple captaincy on him. Haaland, I still think game week 17 is my favourite triple captain week for him. Yeah. How many of the free transfers do I see myself using? Only one at the moment, which is Mateta to Thiago. With that money, I have a couple of things that I could do, like I can't do Richards to Munoz with that money anymore because I bought Foden. That was the current plan, but actually I'm pretty sure I got priced out of it anyway. Enzo, do I still have money for that? I don't think I did. I think Thiago rose. Enzo to Minter might give me Richards to Munoz. Let me see. I think I'm 0.1 short of that now. Yeah, I am. Dun dun dun. 0.1. Oh no, 0.2 short of it. Munoz has risen as well. Munoz is up to 6.1. At what point do we just stop? At what point do we just stop buying Munoz at 6.1 million? To be honest, I think the same about Timber. At what point is Timber not worth the money? Now that he's shown that he can get benched. As soon as Gabriel is back, I will do Timber to Gabriel. 100%. As soon as we see Gabriel back, I will do that sideways switch. Get back on the Gabriel train. It was a much nicer place than the Timber train, I think. Wait for the Munoz yellow. He might drop once, but he's still 6 million. Like, it's getting expensive now. It's getting expensive. Illiman and Dye. What was that? Ndai or Thiago to start? Probably Thiago. I've not been that impressed by Ndai and Everton. I think hasn't Ndai had one return in his last 8. I actually sold him at quite a good time. I can't even remember who I bought. Did I buy Enzo? No, I bought Anderson, didn't I? Did Ndai to Anderson? No, I did Sarr to Anderson. Did I do Saka? I did Ndai to Saka, didn't I? When I sold Gyökeres, that's what I did. But yeah, he's had no returns recently, and he's going to AFCON. I would happily sell Ndai. As a Munoz owner, he is expensive, but just comes in with random hauls. I know, but like, can a Lacroix or a Mark Gahey get close to that? I'm fully accepting that it's not Richards, right? Richards is not the one. But yeah. Is there another one that can get close? Do I follow F1? It's not a sport I've ever really got into. I'm aware that there is a big race this weekend. I don't understand. Well, I don't know why it's a big race, but I just seen some of the sort of hype around it. But no, I don't follow F1. Can't really comment on any of it. Sorry. Your team is Sanchez, Van Dijk, Richards, Timber, Saka, Semenyo, Foden, Minter, Anderson, Mateta, Haaland. Should I bench boost? Your bench is Dubravka, Anderson, Thiago, and Alderete. You have bench boost, triple captain left. I'd have a look at bench boost 18. If it doesn't look any better in 18, then yeah, I'd play it this week. Just Alderete is not great this week, is he really? Away at City, but would I double up on the City midfield? No, because I don't think Doku's worth it as a pick. Like, I don't think Doku is a better pick than Bruno Guimaraes or like a Minter. So no, I wouldn't. And Reinders is not in the team enough. What I think the Newcastle back four will be, I mean, it's so that back four. Burn, Chow, Share, Kraft. I don't know who's playing in what position there. There will be changes. I would worry about Lewis Hall and Livramento the most. I wouldn't be going with them. I definitely wouldn't. Free hit today with United, City, Brighton, Newcastle. Yeah, I don't mind a free hit this week. If it looks good for your team, there are definitely good teams to target this week. Definitely. No thoughts on Dango? Am I right in thinking Dango goes to... yeah, Dango goes to AFCON. So I wouldn't buy Dango. Yeah, I knew there was a reason. Yeah, Dango's going to AFCON, yeah. I knew there was a reason why he wasn't in any content despite doing quite well recently. It's because he's about to leave. Would I triple captain Bruno Guimaraes against Burnley? No. Like, if you wanted to take a gamble and captain him, then I would just about understand it, but it's still too much of a gamble for me, and I would, still be sticking with the Haaland captaincy. What about Dango instead of Minter? Yeah, Dango's going to AFCON, so no, Minter is not. This is the thing. That's why Sharda is a little bit annoying. He's quite expensive. He could be my Enzo replacement, though. It could be Kevin Sharda. They've got some really nice short-term fixtures. Like, if Kevin Sharda was to score, I could see myself looking at Enzo to Sharda. It's just a shame he's more expensive than Enzo. Isn't he, like, still 7 million? Isn't he still quite expensive? I've got it up here. He's more than Enzo, I think. Yeah, he hasn't dropped, which is weird. But yeah, he could be a potential replacement. An interesting one, actually, that we haven't spoken about loads during this stream. When someone asked me for my top 3 replacements for Enzo, Sharda's probably third with the fixtures that they've got coming up, because everyone's going to own Thiago, so you're not going to gain that much if they start doing well. And they have such a nice run of games from next week. Who would I sell first, Semenyo or Enzo? I'd rather sell Enzo, but I didn't have the money for Enzo to Foden, so I had to do Semenyo to Foden. Should we triple captain Haaland? Probably not. If you're not using a chip in 17, I'm not sure Sunderland is a fixture I'd be looking to target for the triple captain. I know he did it against Fulham and we didn't think that was the best week for Haaland, but I would be waiting until 17, I think. We are into the final hour of the deadline stream, so I'm just going to pop it into subscriber only mode. If you haven't subscribed in a while, if you haven't subscribed yet, please drop a subscribe and you can start using the chat once again. Literally have to subscribe for 1 minute. Someone asked me to do a poll in the chat. Are you buying Foden? Are you buying Foden? Yes, for free. Yes, for a -4. Ooh. No, help, cannot decide. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know what you think on Richards versus Anderson, because I think that's the only decision I've got left to make this week. That's the only decision I've got left to make this week. Anderson at home. Palace being better than Fulham, though. Fulham are slightly better, quicker turnaround. Fulham played Tuesday at home. Palace played away on Wednesday night. FPL Vert. I voted no, but I wish I could have voted somewhere else. Yes for free is 43%. Yes for a hit, 16%. No. I suppose there's going to be some people who already owned Foden. If you're in that camp, just vote yes for free. If you've already owned him, just vote yes for free. But that is a 60% ownership there of Foden this week. It won't be quite that high, I don't think, but yeah. Boston Mike, good early, good morning, good early, good morning. 5 a.m. You've got both João Pedro and Mateta. Which is a priority for Thiago? And if you move on both, who do I fancy the other forward? I would go Welbeck or Waltemada. I probably would just take the cheaper one and buy Welbeck, I think. I'd rather sell João Pedro, though. I'd rather sell João Pedro, I think. I'd rather keep Mateta. Paqueta / Anderson. Paqueta on pens and points to prove. I'd be a little bit cautious of buying Paqueta. Back from his suspension, but I just think there's something not quite right there that, you know, you wouldn't be completely surprised if he doesn't come straight back in, because I mean, what happened in that game where he got sent off against Liverpool didn't sit quite right with a lot of people. Not because it's not a red card, but because he doesn't. And then the tweet afterwards, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come straight back in. So I probably wouldn't buy Paqueta. Szoboszlai, if you've got, I would probably be looking to start. I'd play Szoboszlai over Enzo. I'd play Szoboszlai over Anderson. I'd probably play Szoboszlai over Mateta this week. So, yeah. Would I risk Keane over Richards? I would expect Keane to either start or not be in the squad. So, I think you'll find to start him, probably. Bench 1, Waltemada, Bruno, Foden, and Burmo, Gordon, Minter, Welbeck. Wow. Waltemada, Bruno, Foden. Who's your other attacker? Haaland. Yeah. Waltemada, Bruno. Right, let's answer this in the chat. Who out of these 7 would you bench? Waltemada, Bruno, Foden, and Burmo, Gordon, Minter, Welbeck. I'll say them again. Waltemada, Bruno, Foden, and Burmo, Gordon, Minter, Welbeck. Who's the chat saying? Minter or Foden? Gordon, Bruno, Gordon. A lot of people going Gordon. There's a few in Burmos, but most people would say Gordon. The other player in that is Haaland. So if you want to add him into it. Gordon, play them all. We can't play them all. The other one's Haaland, so you can't bench him either. Play your bench boost. The general consensus is Gordon, probably. Despite him playing Burnley. Yeah. You can't start them all. The other player is Haaland. So someone has to be bench. I could bench Anderson. I could bench Endo for Anderson. Yeah, that is something I've considered. But I mean, I don't actually have that good a reason why I'm not doing it. I think Anderson's floor is definitely higher. Yeah. I just think I'm going to play the attacker. I'm still thinking that the attacker is always better. But I wonder if Anderson is going to show me this week that I should have played a back 4. I don't feel particularly comfortable benching him. I think that's fair. One of my thoughts on the FPL site, now adding advice for people. It doesn't show, I don't have any of them, do I? I don't have anyone it's relevant for. But if some players, it has little boxes. I've got absolutely no issue with it. And I've been surprised that so many people haven't liked it, or have thought it's feeding or giving casual players too much information. You should be able to do well in FPL by making good decisions, not just hoping people forget their player is going to AFCON or is on 4 yellows. I think it's quite a good addition. I think it's quite a good addition, to be honest. Desperately chasing a green arrow. Free hit this week. 5-2-3 or Gakpo over Chaël. You have Ramsdale. I'd play Chaël over Gakpo probably. Are Welbeck's minutes secure? Yes. He should come back in. Yeah. Saksha, let me have a look. Bench 1, Enzo, Rice, Mateta. Mateta definitely plays. It's Enzo or Rice. I probably would bench Rice. Start Enzo or Van der Ven. Thinking Van der Ven. I wouldn't against Brentford. I think Brentford are good. I'd start Enzo, and Van der Ven doesn't get DEFCON. So as soon as Van der Ven concedes, I mean, yeah, he can score, and maybe he'll score now, and I'll look like a silly person. But yeah, I would start Enzo. Semenyo to Foden for a -4 or Enzo to Bruno Guimaraes for a -4. If you're going to take a hit, I'd do it for Foden probably. If you're going to do it for a hit. Yeah, Brighton I like. The thing with Brighton is their fixtures are a bit weird. Because it's like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Let me get it up. So who have we got? Brighton. Like West Ham at home. Good. Liverpool away. Okay, isn't the worst, but not like that bad. Sunderland at home. Okay, the fact that Sunderland at home is green and Liverpool away is red, but we'll move on. Then it's Arsenal away. Bad. West Ham away. Burnley at home. Good. City away. Bad. Bournemouth, Fulham, and then it's quite good. So it's sort of a... It's not a great... They come quite low down, some of the fixture tickers, because some of these fixtures, particularly like Arsenal and maybe Liverpool, do get ranked more difficult. That's not a red versus Liverpool. We're a mess. Well, you said it, not me. Start Enzo or Mateta. Mateta, definitely, yeah. Definitely Mateta. Yeah, like Mateta's minutes are not great, but he's still better than others, I think, this week. Yeah. You have my back three, but O'Reilly as well. I'd bench Richards, I think. If I had O'Reilly over Anderson, I'd probably be benching Richards. Start Reinders or Thiago. Thiago. I take what you know. I take what you know, and you know Thiago's going to play. You know he's on penalties. Reinders is a much bigger uncertainty. And I don't think City are going to put 4 goals past Sunderland necessarily. They might score 2. They might get 3 if they're lucky. But I don't think it's everyone's going to be involved. It's a big Burnley at home fixture like we saw, or Leeds at home, and we need as many of them as possible. I don't think that's the case. Saying that, I bought Foden before the fixture, but part of that is the value, right? I'd be 0.3 million short of making that transfer now, which is quite a lot. I reckon if you make 5 transfers today and you made the right 5 ones, you could make close to 2 million in value in a week. There will be players who double fall, and there will be players who double rise. Maybe not 2 million, but you could make 1 million easy if you made 5 free transfers this week. Like, comfortably, there'll be... Yeah, that's a rise and a fall for everyone you transfer. You could easily make 1 million in value if you were to use 5 frees this week. I'm not saying you should, but that's the type of value change I'm expecting. That's the type of value change I'm expecting. Elliot Anderson or Igor Thiago. Thiago, definitely. Yeah, I'll make it alone on Foden at this rate. True. It'll be Thiago next week. I just got to hope that Spurs can keep him out. I've just got to hope that Spurs can keep him out tonight before I buy him. If you've got Rice, I think he's an okay bench, but I would probably want to start him. And triple Arsenal is just probably always a good idea. Like, they're never going to be the team that I think, if I had to pick a team to win like this week, it might not be Arsenal, but over the next 6 weeks, do I think Arsenal win more games than anyone else? Probably. They're more a long-term play, which is why it's fine to bench Rice in a specific week, but long-term, you want to be playing him most weeks because, yeah, he's quite an option that you can, if you have a really good team, you can bench him, but long-term, you just kind of want to put him in and forget about him. Would I suggest triple captain Haaland this week? No, triple captain Haaland in 17. Semenyo or Rice out for Foden. Probably Semenyo, because Rice has Wolves at home next week that you'll want that for. Are we going Bruno this week? It can't go wrong 2 weeks in a row. It can. Bruno has my vice captain because he's playing Wolves, but the thing to note is central midfielders don't get DEFCON against Wolves. I had that correctly pointed out to me by Alex Volo on Twitter. And yeah. Would I bench Rodgers for Reinders? Probably. I'd probably take the chance. You transferred out Lucas Paqueta and Senesi for Chaël and Minter -4. I mean, it's a good hit. Like, the players coming in are definitely 4 points better than the players you're taking out. I don't love a hit this week, but if hits are going to be taken, that's a pretty good one. What to do if you still have Salah? I mean, I'd probably keep him for this and then sell him next week and reinvest the money with your 5 frees. But Rice out for Bruno Guimaraes. What's my opinion on that? I probably wouldn't do that unless you have an obvious... Do you need to free up the Arsenal spot for something else? If the answer is yes, like you want to go Mbeumo to Saka, or you want to do Van Dijk to Timber next week, then fine. But unless you're not going to reinvest, unless you're going to reinvest that Arsenal spot, I wouldn't do that sideways move. Enzo, Saka, Minter, Foden, in Sarr. Oh, so would I do Sarr to Shockwave or Bruno Guimaraes? I do Bruno Guimaraes. I'm not buying that Fulham midfielder just because he scored a couple of goals the other night. Would I play Van Dijk over Richards? Probably, rightly or wrongly, but I probably would. Probably would. I do think that there is going to be... I mean, I don't think Anderson is going to be my lowest scoring player this week, and I probably should start him. I'm just not certain who it is that I need to play him over, though. If I went for the all-in tactic with 5 free transfers next week, what would I do? I'd buy Foden. I'd buy Thiago. I'd probably buy Munoz if he doesn't get booked. I'd buy Timber. And then maybe one other, depending on who does well this week. Would I buy Marino? I probably wouldn't. I still think Havertz had a slight setback, didn't he? But once it's Gyökeres, Marino, Havertz all back, then it feels like too much for a risk with him. Thoughts on doing a 1 week punt, switching out either Semenyo, Rice for Gordon or Bruno? Semenyo, Rice. I wouldn't sell Rice. Semenyo you can find. I'm not a big fan of these 1 week punts because you don't want to be rushing into using all of your transfers in 16 if you don't have to. So out of those, like I'd buy Bruno Guimaraes because long term he's a better hold if you get stuck with him than the other two, I'd say. Minter I also don't mind, but I wouldn't be selling Rice, I don't think. Semenyo to transfer as a free hit before getting the 5 frees. Semenyo to transfer as a free hit before getting 5 frees. If you want to sell Semenyo as your transfer this week, that was the player that I took out this week. Yeah. Yeah. Why Anderson over Senesi? I'm hoping that Chelsea score. And I think Fulham have a higher clean sheet chance this week than... yeah. Why am I drinking beer in the morning? Is it a London thing? I've got a cup of tea, which is now cold. And I've got a bottle of water, which is meant to be cold. Who should I transfer out of Richards, Enzo and Ndai? And for who? Ndai is probably the one to go. And Bruno Guimaraes, if you've got the money. Minter, probably, top 2. A punt on Palmer captain, I definitely wouldn't do that. I'm not even sure he definitely starts. He probably does, but I don't think it's guaranteed that Palmer starts. Salah to Foden. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just stick with Salah. So when am I squeezing Palmer in? When I want to sell Saka. Saka's the only player I'm going to sell to buy Palmer. Because I need the money in my defence. Saka's the only player I can sell. I could sell Bruno up to him, but I'm not going to do that. Bruno's fixtures, I mean, he needs to score some points, right? When's the next time they're going to get a penalty? His returns have been all right. He's just ticking along. But he's still a pretty good hold until January. And the good thing about Bruno, right, is over Christmas... I know there was this whole talk about this week about whether he was fit, whether he was injured, and it turned out he was never injured and he was never one of the players who was even a doubt this week. But he just plays. He just plays every single week. He never misses out and he plays 90 every week. It's just such a benefit to have a player like that over Christmas. Did I consider doing Mateta to Thiago for a hit? No. I'll do it for free. It's one of those that I wouldn't do it for a hit next week. I wouldn't do it for a hit. No. No. I'll do it for free next week. I don't think there's that many players that I think are particularly worth a hit this week. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've even considered it, but it's definitely not worth it, I don't think. I mean, if Thiago was to score, then maybe, but I'm quite happy to wait. You've given up on selling Bruno. I'm the bit the same. Like I've always said, I'm not sure about keeping Bruno, selling Bruno, but yeah, I just think there's always going to be bigger issues with my team, and I don't really need the money. Rice out for Bruno Guimaraes. Probably wouldn't. Like I think next week you'll want triple Arsenal, and I would just keep Rice. I wouldn't be moving around your Arsenal. Again, if you're in a position where you want to change which Arsenal players you've got, like you do Rice out and you're going to buy Raya, or you're going to buy Timber, or you're going to buy Saka, then it's okay. But if you're not going to use that Arsenal spot, then yeah. Is Timber overpriced? Yes. I think so. Yeah. I don't think he's worth the money. If I'd have known that Calafiori was going to play just as many minutes as him, I would have bought Calafiori instead. I mean, that is a way that, I could get to Munoz if I needed to, was Timber to Calafiori, Timber to Hincapié until Gabriel's back. All of these things are possible for me. But yeah, I'm not sure Timber's worth the money. Is a -4 this week, Semenyo to Foden, if we get 5 free transfers next week anyway to make required changes for the long term. I don't think I'd be taking a Semenyo to Foden for a hit. Semenyo to Foden and play Dubravka, or Enzo and Pope to Foden and Verbruggen. I wouldn't do Pope to Verbruggen for a hit. Oh, it allows you to sell Enzo though. Ooh, it allows you to sell Enzo over selling Semenyo. Petrov, you've got me with that question. Would I do Semenyo to Foden and play Dubravka, or would I do Enzo and Pope to Foden and Verbruggen for a hit? If you think Verbruggen is the goalkeeper you want long term and you're not going to go David Raya, then I'd do the hit and I'd sell Enzo. I've played my bench boost, I've played my wild card, I've played my free hit. The only thing I've got left is the triple captain, and the plan is game week 17 for that one. Yeah. Will Dan Burn play? Probably, but there might be a bit of rotation in that Newcastle team. Kelleher, so deep in my ranking. Would it change after Spurs? Yes. I think the start or bench is just start or bench this week because he's got Spurs. But goalkeepers to buy, I don't mind. If you need a cheap goalkeeper and you're not going Verbruggen, I would buy Kelleher. Would be the other cheap goalkeeper I'd probably go with. Bench 1, João Pedro, Bowen, Enzo. Probably João Pedro because his minutes are the least safe. You have 0 in the bank and you need to replace Sarr. You've got Foden, Minter. I wouldn't go Dango. He's going to... Yeah, it's Minter, Bruno Guimaraes, Anderson or Schade, but some of them are more expensive. If I still have my bench boost, would I do it this week? Probably not, because I don't think Mark Guiu will get on the pitch. So I probably wouldn't. No, I mean, it's not great for my team ever to bench boost because I've got Mark Guiu, so it's never going to look great. But the other 2 or 3 are not good enough to bench boost on their own. Bench 1 of Van Dijk, Munoz, Timber, O'Reilly, and Mateta. Munoz definitely plays. O'Reilly is one of the defenders. Maybe Van Dijk. Van Dijk or Timber, I think. News on De Ligt, nothing. He just said he's hopeful that he'll be back for Monday night. They've got quite a long turnaround, so you'd be hopeful that he is going to be back after saying that. But yeah, we don't know completely. Would I do Semenyo to Foden, Mateta to Thiago for a -4? Semenyo to Foden, no. So again, this is a common -4 that people are looking at. I would wait and buy Foden next week. I wouldn't buy Foden for a hit now. I don't think. Start Calafiori or Chalobah. Probably Calafiori. Bruno Guimaraes for Semenyo or Voltemada for Mateta. Bruno Guimaraes for Semenyo or Voltemada. I don't think the Bruno win for Semenyo is that beneficial, whereas I like selling Mateta. So I'd rather do that one, I think. Start 1, Gakpo, Van der Ven or João Pedro. Definitely not Van der Ven. Probably Gakpo, because I think he probably starts after getting reduced minutes midweek. Confident of an Arsenal clean sheet? Probably not. It's one of the worst weeks that they've got left for it, but yeah. Defensively, they're still pretty solid, right? I mean, if Rice was out and Saliba was out, then I think I probably would bench Timber. And I'd play Anderson. But I don't imagine we're ever going to get that news. Should I start Mateta or Semenyo? Semenyo, probably. It's close, though. Should I start Mateta or Semenyo? Yeah, probably Semenyo. Would I do a Burmo to Foden? No. I think the next 2 games for United are actually better than City's. And I think they could suit Burmo quite well. So no, I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. There's lots of you looking at Foden still. If you haven't gone early on the transfer, I'd be a little bit more reluctant to do it. Part of the reason of going early is to gain the value. And if you've not done it yet, I'd be more inclined to say I wouldn't do it. Chris Richards or Matheus Nunes, but make it double Palace with Mark Guehi. I'd probably play Matheus Nunes. He's not guaranteed to play. They could play Kusanov there, but I imagine Matheus Nunes probably does play. I'd probably take that risk. It's given you've got Mark Guehi in your lineup as well. Game week 16 onwards, Palmer, Esteve, Mukiele or Bruno, Munoz, Chaël. I don't think Palmer's worth the money, so the other option. Bruno Guimaraes, Munoz and Malik Chaël. One Newcastle defender for the long term. Malik Chaël probably over Burn. I think they'll be the first choice centre-backs and there's virtually no price difference between them now. So you're picking one of Chaël or Dan Burn. Probably I'd go Malik Chaël though. Is game week 19 a good week for the bench boost? I'd be surprised. I'd rather 18. So 19 is a midweek deadline, which is never great. Burnley host Newcastle. Leeds go away to Liverpool and Sunderland face City. The players that you're likely to have on your bench in 19 are really not very good. Whereas if you look at 18, the week before, Burnley host Everton and Sunderland play Leeds. So they look pretty good. Like Fulham as well, if you've got them away at West Ham, you might have a bit of Palace. They host Spurs, like that's right. There's nothing really there that you look at and think, I'm going to have a bad fixture in my team unless you own, like Forest even, like if you're bench boosting, if you Anderson at home to City, you'll probably get DEFCON. Like if you've got Minter away at Brighton, okay, it's not great, but 18 is probably my favourite, but it also, 16, 17 and 18 can all work for bench boost. I would not save it for 19. Senesi or Anderson, I'd play Anderson, yeah. Not Barnes. That left wing spot with Gordon back, I'm not sure I'd buy either of them. I just buy Bruno G. Buy the player who's more nailed going into this Christmas period. That left wing spot, even if one of them starts, taken off early. There's probably more haul potential in buying the left winger, but I wouldn't be buying one of them though. Rish, confused, please help. Let me know how I can help and I will do my best to make you less confused. If you have both Voltemada and Mateta, who would I sell next game week for Thiago? Mateta, I think. Yeah. City roulette, absolutely, it could happen. Eze, Anderson or Semenyo, bench one. Probably Anderson. Maybe Eze, but probably Anderson. I'll probably play the Arsenal players if you've got them. Is using all 5 transfers next week worth it to restructure the team? I would say no. I would try and not use all 5, maybe 4, but yeah, I probably would do my best not to use all 5. Am I happy with my rank? Yes. Semenyo to Minter for free. You can't get Foden. I wouldn't sell Semenyo then. Am I happy with my rank? Yes, I am. I have goals that I set myself throughout the season, and I am within what I want to be. So the target is always game week 11, that last international break, to make sure I'm inside the top 1 million, which I am. The next goal is about game week 19, halfway through the season, to be in the top 200k. So that's the next goal, right? To sort of stay where I am at least for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. I think this is the hardest week for me. My team looks slightly worse on paper than I think some of the other teams do this week. Like I've got no Newcastle, right? I've got Enzo still in instead of having Minto, who's got a good fixture. I don't have Munoz, right? I've got the worst of the Palace defenders. I don't have Thiago. I think this is probably the week where I feel like my team is the weakest. I actually think my team in 16 looks pretty good. I've got Van Dijk, good fixture. Timber, good fixture. Raya, good fixture. I think Anderson with a good fixture. Foden against Palace. Enzo at home to Everton. Bruno, fine. Saka, Wolves. Anderson, also fine. Mateta will go to Thiago. And Haaland. So I think this is the week that between now and 19, I've got to do my best and got to be hoping that I stay in the top 200k. That's the aim for this week. Do I think De Ligt is going to start? Had done 1 transfer and died to Foden. I think De Ligt probably will. If you've got him, I'd start him, yeah. If you've got him, I'd start him. Semenyo and Senesi to Chaël and Bruno Guimaraes. That's fine. Selling double Bournemouth for double Newcastle this week is probably good, yeah. Anderson or Chalobah? Anderson. Would I advise captain Voltemada over Bruno? Probably. Voltemada in for Mateta or Bruno Guimaraes in for Enzo? I probably prefer keeping Enzo. Is Welbeck nailed? I mean, he didn't start midweek, so no, not 100%. But his backup got injured midweek, so he should be starting the majority of games. Yes. He should start this week, yeah. What 3 attackers do I like on wildcard? On wildcard, I'd go Haaland, Thiago, and probably Guiu. I think 3-5-2. I think there's enough good midfielders that I'd play 3-5-2. If you wanted another one, Welbeck, Voltemada, probably. I don't think I'd be going for a Calvert-Lewin or something like that. No, we won't get any City leaks. They're not until 3 o'clock, and we haven't even had City leaks over the past couple of weeks when they've been the early kickoff anyway. So, yeah. You've done a die to Minter. Is Enzo to Bruno G worth a hit? No. There's very little I would say yes to taking a hit for this week. Very little. Because we get those 5 frees next week, you can do your transfers next week for free. And now we're so close to the deadline, you're not gaining value. If you'd have said to me on Tuesday night, what I was going to do Mateta to Thiago and Semenyo to Foden, I think you've gained about 0.5 million on that hit alone. So then it probably is worth it even. Yeah. But once you're not gaining the value, yeah, I wouldn't be taking hits for very much this week, I don't think. I wouldn't do Semenyo to Foden for a hit now. On Tuesday to gain all the value, then maybe, but I definitely wouldn't be doing it now. Which goalkeeper is good for the bench boost? I mean, Dubravka is always going to be the goalkeeper on bench boost, right? You just got to pick a week where you think he's going to do okay. Money in the bank, I've got exactly 0. That's why I went early on Semenyo to Foden, because I have no money left in the bank. Absolutely none. So It's a good week that I'm going to free up some money by doing Mateta to Thiago, right? Because I've got nothing spare. Every transfer I make now basically has to be a downgrade. Yeah. Every transfer I make will have to be a downgrade. Triple captain Haaland, not for me. 17 definitely looks better. I think Sunderland are a pretty good team. I wouldn't triple captain against Sunderland, I don't think. If you're going to free hit in 17 or you're bench boosting in 17, then it's probably the second best week, but I wouldn't be doing it this week. Like, I'd rather move the free hit or the bench boost to another week and triple captain Haaland then, because I think Sunderland's a tough fixture. Semenyo or Gakpo to Foden. Probably Semenyo, because when Salah goes to AFCON, Gakpo's minutes are only going to go up. So, yeah, I'd rather sell Semenyo. I like Gakpo long term. Can Palace achieve a clean sheet this week? They can. Do I think they will? I think that'll be quite a low scoring game. I'm just hoping that Mateta can finally score, but bench Rice or Semenyo. If I had to bench one, I'd bench Rice. Would I play Reece James or João Pedro? I'd play João Pedro over Reece. You've had Foden since game week 10. Very nice. Transfers tonight to catch the price changes. If there is potential changes, then yes. But it doesn't look like there's going to be anything that major tonight. Although once people get their 5 free transfers, you never know. Mateta's never scored against Fulham. But this is the thing. People were like, the same record that Haaland had against Bournemouth, and then Haaland had against Liverpool, and then Haaland had against Fulham. And then these things are there until they're not, right? Would I risk starting Keane over Anderson? Probably, yeah. Hincapié nailed for now until Gabriel's back. Timber just expensive, and Calafiori on 4 yellows. Yeah, Hincapié looks nailed until Gabriel comes back. Yeah. And then as long as you leave the money for when Gabriel's back to do Hincapié to Gabriel, you're just going to have that 1 week, though, where you've got Hincapié and Arteta says, Gabriel is close. We'll see with training today whether he's able to play. And then you're not going to know what to do that week. That's the only issue with that. The only issue with going Hincapié is there will be a week where he is not telling us on anything on Gabriel, and then he ends up not starting or starting. When I say there's nothing major, at the moment, players who are predicted to potentially rise in price tonight, Mark Gay, Raya, Timber. I'm not going to buy Mark Gay tonight because he's got City next week. I've already got Raya and I've already got Timber. So for me, and in terms of droppers, there's nothing really either. In terms of fallers that potentially would force me into an early transfer. Gay, Raya, Timber, like the Newcastle guys, maybe Thiago. Like if Thiago is going to rise tonight, then maybe. I'll keep an eye on that. The only thing that could, Enzo might drop. Well, let's see. One free transfer, Enzo, Semenyo to Minter or Mateta or Thiago. Mateta to Thiago. Probably Mateta to Thiago out of that lot, I think. A few people in the chat asking about a quick free hit draft or a quick wildcard draft. I did it all in the complete guide video yesterday and nothing was really changed since then. So if you want either a wildcard or a free hit draft, please go and check out that. Go and check out that video. How to support the channel. If you want to support the channel, we have memberships. We have base tier, mid tier, top tier, and then the GOAT tier. You can sign up on my channel. You normally have to be on desktop. Mobile's a little bit funny about it. Base tier just gets you perks in the stream. Mid tier gets you a whole WhatsApp community with all the other members who talk about FPL every day. It's very busy. And members only stream once a week. Top tier gets you one-to-one support with myself where I help you with your team. And GOAT tier gets you all of that, of course, plus a weekly Zoom call with all the other GOAT tier members and some GOAT tier specific leagues as well. What's the earliest transfer in my mind for next week? Matata to Thiago. Tonight or tomorrow, depending on price changes. I've already bench boost. No triple captain, no. I'm really interested that so many people have asked about the triple captain this week. Way more people have asked about it in the chat than I thought we'd have. Way more people. Way more people. It's just not even a consideration for me when they've got the fixture in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Is Bruno Guimaraes a good pick this week? Semenyo out. Yeah, Bruno is my favourite of the Newcastle mids. Imagine Haaland scores a hat-trick versus Sunderland, blanks against West Ham. I mean, it's very possible, right? He blanked against Leeds when people played their triple captaincy on him. So it's possible, but if I'm taking the gamble, I'm taking it against West Ham. Yeah, I already had Foden on my poll. I do realise that. If you're voting in the poll, just vote yes for free if you've already got him. Yeah. Let me end that poll now. It's like 60% ownership on Foden this week. Yeah, the England World Cup draw. It's quite a difficult draw, actually. Ghana and Croatia. Quite difficult. I mean, we should be winning them, but yeah. Is Mourinho a legit option in place of Bruno? I don't think his minutes long term are good enough, to be honest. No. No. I wouldn't be going Mourinho. My brother sent me his team and was like, should I buy Mourinho? And I was like, I wouldn't do that, I don't think, because he's going to come out of the team eventually, I think. He'll be in and out of it. Like, he'll get minutes, midfield up front, but still not an option for me in FPL. Although, he is such a good goal scorer. His finishing is incredible. His finishing is incredible. Who getting in for Enzo? I'm going to keep Enzo for Bournemouth and probably Everton next week. I will have a look at Kevin Schade, though. Potentially next week. I'll have a look at Schade. Yeah. Bench Thiago or Mateta to partner Haaland. Thiago's better than Mateta. Is Bruno Guimaraes a good pick? Yes. Mateta to Thiago or Waltemada. I prefer Thiago. Doku, Cherki, Gordon, Minter, Bruno Guimaraes for Semenyo. Probably Bruno Guimaraes. All the others. Minter, I don't mind. One of those two. One free transfer. I probably would buy Minter over Bruno Guimaraes, actually. Enzo, Semenyo to Minter, Mateta to Thiago. We did. Cool. Bench one, Richard, Enzo, Anderson, and Timber. I mean, probably Anderson. Should you sell Timber? No. I think Wolves at home next week is great. And if Arsenal are going to continue to be as good defensively as they have been, you'd still want to hold on to them, I think. I'd still want to hold on to them. Do I think Rice starts? Yes, probably. Would I bench Enzo or Rice or Thiago? Not Thiago, definitely not. Enzo or Rice, I'd probably be inclined to bench Enzo, I think. Rice has just so many routes to points, even if it's just DEFCON in this game, which he's not been that great at recently, but you never know. He's got more potential of it than Enzo. The thing with Enzo is he'll get 2, 2, 2, and then 10. Whereas a Rice is more likely to get 6, 7. Oh no, what have I done? 6, 5, 4, 7. That sort of points. You don't think I need Munoz? I absolutely think I need Munoz. Yeah. When I have my 5 free transfers after they played City, I will have a look at doing a way to get Munoz in. You sure about Richards over Anderson? Not really, if I'm honest, but I think Palace are better than Fulham, and I probably expect Palace to win that game. Yeah, and I wasn't impressed by what I saw from Fulham on Tuesday night. Yeah, Mbeumo to Saka next week, or is Mbeumo going to play more? Yeah, I wouldn't do Mbeumo to Saka. Well, yeah, actually, you can do Mbeumo to Saka next week. Like, Saka at Wolves at home is better than Mbeumo at home to Bournemouth, and that will be Mbeumo's final week before he goes to AFCON. Triple captain today? No. Saving it for West Ham at home for Haaland. Mukiele or Rodon? Probably Rodon. Is Saka worth it over Rice? I'm not certain that Saka is worth the money, but I don't really have an obvious place that I'd spend it, right? If I had Rice over Saka, I'd upgrade Anderson, potentially, and then maybe I'd go Munoz, but I think Saka is probably worth it. Bench Anderson or Enzo? I'd rather bench Enzo than Anderson, I think. If I was going to play Anderson of Fulham, I'd rather bench Enzo, I think. Start Rodgers or Enzo? Enzo. Is it good to get burned for a hit? Defenders for a hit are never really worthwhile, no. Because as soon as they get a clean sheet, that basically doesn't count. Because if you're taking a hit, you lose the 4-point clean sheet that you would have got. Start Anderson or Minter. Minter, definitely. If you've got the attacking player, you definitely play him. Start Elliot Anderson or Richards. Probably Richards. Do I reckon Ben White will start? Only if Saliba's out. If not, no. I think it'll be Hincape, Saliba, Timber, Calafiori. You're feeling that Villa will win today? I think it's possible. I don't think they will, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams score in that game. I do think that benching Timber might end up being the answer, but Walter-Mata or Haaland captain? Haaland definitely. Haaland captain, definitely. Yeah. Hang on. Oh no, we're all good. Cool. Triple captain Haaland. No, like so many people are wondering about the triple captain this week. I'm massively surprised. Definitely not for me. Definitely not. Enzo or Dewsbury Hall? Enzo over Dewsbury Hall. Is Rice starting? No team news as of yet on anything. Arsenal, no, I don't think on... That guy Connor sometimes posts the walk if it's... But he hasn't, no. Let me take a look, because sometimes Arsenal do post, not Arsenal, but Arsenal go for a walk normally the morning of a game, and that can help us. But yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing on Rice. I don't think. No. Oh, there are nearly 7,000 of you watching. Thank you. And 1,000 likes on the stream. Thank you very much. If you do want to like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Start Gakpo or Van der Ven. Gakpo, definitely. Trossard with Arsenal squad. arriving at the ground. That's a boost to them, definitely. That's a boost to them, definitely. Where did you see that? Did you see it on Twitter? If you've seen it on Twitter, could you tag me in it? Yeah, could you tag me in it? Cool. Bench 1, Thiago, Szoboszlai, Semenyo. Probably Szoboszlai. Why Timber over Anderson? I still just back the Arsenal defence. If there's any defence that wants to keep a clean sheet, Arsenal have got to be right up there. And Timber does have some attacking threat if Saliba is back. If Saliba's not back and he plays at centre-back, then I probably will wish I played Anderson. But, yeah, I'm going to hope that Saliba's back. Still call it Twitter. I think it's always going to be Twitter to me. I think it's always going to be Twitter. Oh, okay. Trossard, James. Okay, so James Benga has said Declan Rice was also with the squad, but he didn't see Saliba. That may well be Timber at centre-back. That might well be Timber at centre-back. It says Declan Rice was with the team. So if you've got Rice, probably good news for him. But that might be Timber at centre-back. Might be Timber at centre-back. I do wonder about Anderson over Timber. Richards over Anderson, you can't decide. Why Richards over Anderson, you can't decide. I expect Palace to be better than Fulham, basically. I do think that's likely to be quite a low scoring game, but I'm going with Richards as well because there's a lot of Palace ownership. I've just retweeted it on Twitter if anyone wants to see the tweet. It's just James Benga on Twitter saying Trossard with the Arsenal squad, Rice also with the team. He doesn't see Saliba. Waylon, let me take a look for you. Would I bench Bruce, Anderson, Richards, Krupi Jr. and Dubravka? Yes. Yeah, because Krupi might actually start today. So yes, I probably would. Unless it looks better in 18 for you. Yeah. Should I start Van Dijk or Senesi? Van Dijk, definitely. Start João Pedro or Mateta? Probably Mateta. Mateta or Enzo. Mateta over Enzo. Start Richards or Timber now? Probably still Timber. Probably still Timber. Start Senesi or Richards. Senesi or Richards. Richards over Senesi. Start Rodon or Senesi. Senesi over Rodon. There's a lot of benching heading. Start Thiago or Gyökeres. Thiago, definitely. Elliot Anderson or Semenyo. Semenyo, definitely. First bench, Alderete or Goodmanson. I prefer Goodmanson to Alderete. Bench 1, Rice, Enzo, and Dye. I'd bench Enzo. Probably over Rice. Probably over Rice. Grealish or Anderson. Anderson. Oh, no. I'll probably play Grealish over Anderson, I think. Pick 2, long-term, Gakpo, Minto, Bruno, Guimaraes. Should probably take out Gakpo. He's also the most expensive. Pick 2, long-term, Gakpo we've done. Ndai or Anderson. Play Ndai. Anderson's fine, but if you've got an attacker over them, a better attacker, yeah. Which Chelsea player do I think gets sent off today? Hopefully none of them, but the way we're going, probably one of them. Will I start Thiago over Enzo? Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Tarkowski or Ndai. You have Van Dijk, Timber, Richards. Probably play Tarkowski. Actually, I probably would bench Timber and play both of them. I think O'Reilly or Malik Chaël. O'Reilly or Malik Chaël. Malik Chaël this week. I wouldn't take the gamble on. O'Reilly definitely starting. Captain Haaland or Voltemada. Haaland definitely. Mateta or Dewsbury Hall. Mateta. O'Reilly or Ndai. Tarkowski or Anderson of Forest. I'd play Tarkowski. Van der Ven or Timber. I'd play Timber. Van der Ven or Senesi. I'd play Senesi probably. Start Raul or Potts. I'd start Raul over Potts. Minter or Mbermo or Bruno G. This week, probably Bruno G against Burnley. KDH or Richards. Probably Richards. And Van der Ven or Anderson. I'd go Anderson. My team is locked in. I'm not going to change that defender spot. It's going to be like it is. We are basically now into the final 1 minute before the deadline. So that is going to be all of the questions. You've got 1 minute until the deadline. Please go and check your teams. Confirm your transfers. Confirm your captain. Confirm your vice captain. Confirm your bench. Make sure you click save. Refresh it to make sure everything is there. That is all. When the game updates, we will have 5 free transfers. That is all for this deadline stream. I want to say a big thank you all for joining. There's been an awful lot of content this week, and seeing you all post that you're in the top whatever % of listeners on the channel. Thank you all very much. I do need to head off as I'm staying in an Airbnb, which the checkout is at 11, and it is currently 11. So I need to pack up all my stuff and get out of here as quickly as possible. But that is all for this stream. Have a good one. Good luck in game week 15. We'll be back with game week 16 content on Sunday. Good luck this week. Thank you for tuning in. Apologies, I have to rush off straight away, but I don't want to get in trouble for having the Airbnb longer than I need to. Good luck this week, everyone. And yeah, I will catch you all very soon. Bye.